When an office building begins killing people, yes, you heard me correctly, an old friend of Mulder's comes asking for help on the case. Assuming it's just a normal murder, they help. What they find is a sentient AI with a murderous intent.
This is not happening.
Oh, and deadly fans.
This is not happening.
Hello and welcome to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast.
Look, Ben, this is what infuriates me. Don't you see? It's so painfully obvious. Why do you think our stock's in the toilet? Because you're cutting research and development in half. You've forgotten what the adventure's all about.
Like it or not, the industry's changing. We need to make some hard choices.
You save your soundbite for the press.
Let's not relive the stockholders' meeting again.
Don't you get it? You're killing me. You're killing my company.
Eurisco is not your company, Brad. Not anymore, and you damn well better grow up and get used to it.
You're gonna regret this.
Good evening, everybody. Andrew here with Mike, and tonight we are talking about Ghost in the Machine, Season 1, Episode 7 of The X-Files. This one written by Alex Ganza and Howard Gordon, directed by Gerald Friedman. How you doing tonight?
Doing good today, Andrew.
I watched this episode and I was doing slightly less well after it, so...
Yeah.
So right off the bat, background on this tells us that Alex and Howard had a hard time with this episode because they didn't know much about computers. So they had to...
No.
I know, it doesn't really show. But
You mean it's more than just blinking lights?
and dot matrix printers. But
Yeah.
they had to get up to speed real quick, and they felt a lot of pressure that their antagonist, the COS, was going to be compared to Hal from 2001, which totally, I think, is the case. But
yeah, I mean, essentially.
yeah. I mean, I'm a computer expert, but I know a bit about computers, and I certainly know about computers in 1993 because I was kind of into them then. So from my perspective, there's so much that doesn't work in this episode.
And I think that could easily be the case where it was written by two guys who weren't super savvy on it, which in a way may have dumbed it down for the general public, which made it palatable.
Well, and the other thing
Possibly.
is you're writing about computers. I mean, how on earth do you make that approachable from a dramatic, scary TV show? I think they pull out a lot of great stops to get there. I just don't.
I'll tell you where my mind doesn't go. Killer fans.
Oh, man.
In ventilation systems. That's where my mind does not go.
There's just so much wrong with that scene, but I will save my grief for later.
Yes. Let's start dissecting, shall we?
We open, and I got to say, this opening sequence tells you everything you need to know about this episode. But we start off with a confrontation between Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. I'm sorry, Brad Wilczek and Benjamin Drake, where Wilczek is accusing Drake of ruining his company. And Drake reminds him...
You've forgotten what the adventure's about.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
No. He reminds him that it's not his company anymore. He's
Yeah, it's the stereotypical, scruffy dude versus the smart businessman.
Yep.
Who's kind of forgotten, the roots of the company.
Well, I think from Drake's perspective, he'd like to keep the company as opposed to have it bleed money into oblivion. So, I mean, I can't say I'm totally anti-Drake at this point, but
not a bad idea.
Yeah, you want to keep all these people employed, but
right.
So apparently, Brad's pet project, the COS, has been failing spectacularly, and Drake's going to kill it. Brad storms off, and I think he throws a threat his way, like you're going to regret this or something.
Yeah, openly threatening the guy.
Definitely making him a suspect.
Yes, immediately.
Because, of course, like once that happens, Drake is not long for this world. But
right.
Drake is then left to type up his own notes from a Sony Walkman.
Yep.
I mean, maybe the company is doing so badly, he's had to let his secretary go.
Yeah, right?
That'd be my guess.
It's like... We got super top floor CEO doing his own dictation.
I mean, you've got this COS with automated bathroom doors, and yet there's no automated dictation service here. I mean,
right.
I gotta wonder.
And we get our first shot of the surveillance camera, something this episode relies heavily on.
Yes.
Ominous video cameras turning.
Yeah, and badly, It reminds me of the Muppets in the way that the security cameras are
Yeah,
controlled.
yeah,
You
they
got this
kind of
herky
speed up
jerky.
the camera.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird. It's not the first time you're going to hear me say it's weird in this episode, but anyway.
No.
So we have the ominous view of him through the security cameras. There's a computer interface which is clearly interested in him. It's very high-tech and sci-fi. And then he checks his watch in the most pointed and mime-like fashion, and clearly he's going to leave. Here's water running from the bathroom, so he goes to check. There's water all over the place. Who's left this sock in the sink? This is terrible.
Yeah.
And
things are not going right in his executive suite here. And what kind of...
No.
This is just a strange office.
This is a strange building. I'm about to dive into why this is so horrible. In this scene alone, I've got a lot of questions. But to finish out the opening bit, he goes to check the water. He gets a phone call, which is some automated time recording. And then the door locks him in. The lights go out. He can't get out despite using his security card. He uses his key, and he is instantly electrocuted, thrown against the mirror in the bathroom. And camera pans in, looking at him over the surveillance, and we hear the computer intone, "File deleted."
The most 1993 thing ever.
Yes.
File deleted.
This is not the first time we will hear these computer one-liners.
No, fantastic.
All right, so I'm gonna rapid fire some questions. You can choose to answer or pass. So here we go. Why was he typing his own notes?
I think we answered it. The company's just in the ground
Hard
right
times.
now. They're hemorrhaging money.
Gotcha.
He's going to do his own dictation.
Okay. How did the COS manage to stop up that sink and get the water to flow over?
Apparently, it controls literally everything in this building.
It can control when the plugs open and close, I guess.
Right.
All right. So panning through the bathroom initially, we see that there is a shower in the background. So I have to ask, should there not be a drain in the floor to accommodate the fact that there's water overflow? And that is also controlled by the COS. So
He laid down one of those rubber things.
right. No, I think the COS laid down one of those rubber things.
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I said he because of the dude voice, but
All right. What?
he thought of everything
There's
before
a
he attempted this murder.
formulated plan. Okay. I take it as a sort of androgynous, non-gendered character. But
I didn't mean to gender it. I just said he.
I have a couple more of these because this is how much I really hated this opening scene. Like I really almost stopped it at this point. My next question is, why is there a swipe lock on the inside of the bathroom? Like, why would you
what is
swipe
that
to get
about?
out of the bathroom?
Okay, if you forget your card,
Yeah, then
are
you
you
could swipe.
fucked? I mean, yeah, he's got the real key, but who carries their keys around all day?
Well, and that's my next question. What is with that crazy lock and key? Like, most doors have like a handle lock, right? And you just put the key
Right.
into the handle. But, I mean, what is this room? Because it's
He's
not
like
a bathroom.
opening like a treasure room
Yeah.
with that key. He's like,
Okay, my theory is that it is also a panic room. It is a panic bathroom.
it could very well be.
It still doesn't make sense, but, you know, the very fact that there's a giant lock to this room, like, why, for a bathroom of all places, would you need this kind of a setup? Like, when they get into how the door was triggered to make it into an electrocution trap, like, you get that this is no ordinary bathroom.
Yeah.
In your bathroom at work, is there a camera in your bathroom?
I hope the answer is no.
Well, in this episode, there is a camera in this panic bathroom. Yeah. In short, who in God's name designed this room / building, I'm assuming? 'Cause-
This man.
Yeah. Yeah, this man. He is hoist on his own petard is what it is. So
This camera was actually added after the building was built.
two
This
and a
is
half
where he gets busy with his prostitutes.
2.5 minutes into this episode, and I had 7 major what if plot holes, things I did not like. So it's going to be a rocky road.
So the guy's electrocuted. He's thrown across the room, right?
Yeah.
We get the awesome one-liner, and the camera pans down to that digitized, like, Yar's Revenge looking Atari game for the voice.
Oh, yes.
Like the wave file or whatever.
Yeah, it's so bad.
I'm like, I just played this like 2 days ago.
It's very 90s. It's probably more 80s, actually, if I'm being honest. It doesn't.
Yeah.
But this is, I think, a case of the wrong people in charge of this episode. Like, they needed to get more tech-savvy writers. And I think the director does okay with the material. I think he kind of saves it from being an absolute horror show, but the script is not great.
Here's a thought I had. When we get those shots of the cameras and the voice wave file or whatever you want to call it, I feel like by 1993 we had moved away from that type of spookiness on television. You know, like that's something you would see in maybe like the 50s or Flash Gordon type stuff, Lost in Space. That's part of why I feel so weird about this episode, is it feels a little dated even for 1993. Does that make sense? In 1993, it felt dated.
I think what it is, though, is Chris Carter probably makes a Bible of story ideas. Sorry, probably not the right word, but you know, each show has
They call them show Bibles.
Yeah, exactly. They have a repository of all the one pagers that they're going to do, and then they hire teams to flesh them out into episodes. So you've got Gordon and Howard in this case. Maybe it would have been better if we had Morgan and Wong, but yeah, they can't do everything because they got to do 23 episodes, and you know, probably they only do like 6 or 7. But I just feel like in this case they had the wrong people for the job. Before we started recording, Mike and I were talking about Kill Switch, which comes up in season 5, and how that was kind of the same idea, but much better executed.
Much better.
I realized, in looking at the notes, William Gibson is one of the writers. And if there's somebody who's got a handle on technology, it's him. So I can see why that's probably a much better product. I liked a lot of episodes much better than this one. Possibly all of them, actually. But all right, I have poked lots of holes. Shall we continue on? Or
post-credits this.
Yeah, okay. So we have our lovely credit sequence. We are now at the FBI HQ. Agent Jerry LaManna enters the area and immediately steals Halloween candy, which tells you everything you need to know about him. He's one of those guys, and he's about to put the whammy on Mulder. He attempts to buy their affection with cart sandwiches in exchange for hearing him out about a weird case he needs Mulder's help with. And he then goes to relate the suspicious details of Drake's death, and despite Mulder initially refusing, he manages to get begged into helping. And I wonder what you think of this particular interaction, because I'm not sure about it.
It was interesting, if only in the fact that Mulder actually hugs this guy. Like there's some relationship here immediately. So, you know, this is the first we've ever seen or heard of this guy. Again, it's season 1. But they obviously have some sort of working relationship to the point where this guy is coming to Mulder for help. They are ex-partners, it turns out. And I don't buy that Mulder maybe was apprehensive, because Mulder would jump on just about anything at this point.
Well, I'm thinking about...
It's just who he is, I think.
I'm thinking about Squeeze, you know, how...
Right.
Well, maybe the difference here is there's no previous X-File. Like, that's usually the tie-in which brings him into the action. He's like, oh, there's an X-File back in 1947, and now it's happening again. You know, there's a way to tease that forward. But in this case, it's like, yeah, it sounds weird, but doesn't ring the bell of any X-Files. So I'm out.
Yeah, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not on general assignment. We just did the Jersey Devil on a water cooler story.
On a whim, the whimmiest of whims. I would love it if he actually said, we've got 2 other cases we're knee deep in. Because then Jerry bringing him out to say, I really need you, you would see that, okay, Mulder has really had to give up something to do this. It means a lot to him. But in this case, it's like, no, I'm not going to help you. Well, all right, fine, I'll help you. It's like...
I'm not really doing anything, but I still don't want to help.
I got this sandwich I got to eat. So we are now at the Eurisco building.
Yeah.
Do we have any initial thoughts on the name Eurisco? Because it is actually kind of relevant.
I mean, it works for the episode. I discover things, right?
They do mention it later. It's apparently Latin for I discovered. There is another meaning to it which they don't relate in the show, but it is the name of a. It's not a programming language, but it's what they call a design system for artificial intelligence, where the system can change its own design. So it's very literally drawn out, and if you knew that in advance, then you'd be like, "Oh, I see what you're doing here." But I certainly didn't know that in advance, and it took the internet to tell me what Eurisco was actually all about. But I thought that was cool that this is Ganza and Gordon doing their research, and they're like, "Oh, a cool name for this could have been Eurisco," so they went for that.
And it's literally smacking of two guys going, I don't know anything.
Yes.
Oh, this means something in computer language.
Yeah.
Let's throw it in the episode.
I like it. So they are now at Eurisco. They're looking. They're about to go upstairs and look at the crime scene, where then Mulder drops some exposition.
How come you two went your separate ways?
I'm a pain in the ass to work with.
Seriously.
I'm not a pain in the ass? We had different career goals. Jerry wanted the 5th floor.
And you?
I was gunning for a basement office with no heater windows.
Well, I know where you ended up. What about Jerry?
He ran into a little bad luck in Atlanta working hate crimes.
What kind of bad luck?
He misplaced a piece of evidence, bagged and everything, sent it to the cleaners. By the time he got it back, a federal judge had lost both his hands and his right eye.
This guy's a loser, isn't he?
He is.
I mean, he strikes me as like just not with it. He doesn't deserve his assignment, and he literally lost evidence and screwed up a case.
Yeah.
He gets it dry cleaned, and then a judge is dismembered for it.
Yeah.
It's like,
how does that career survive? You know.
how do you do that? How are you still employed, sir? Especially at the FBI.
I wish they had made him a bit more likable, so that when, spoiler alert, he dies later on. It's like anybody who watches this, anybody who listens to this podcast has probably seen these episodes multiple times. So I don't think we're giving anything away. But yeah, when he dies, Mulder is put out, but I think the audience is blasé to it. It's like, oh, you introduced this,
whatever.
because you parachute this character into the series only to have him get offed in a kind of weird way. It's like, oh, I guess that's unfortunate, but don't really care.
So Mulder and Scully get on the elevator and are interrupted between floors. A little bit of a glitch. Their elevator gets stuck. It gets spooky.
It does. I like this, though. I thought it was a nice touch. I believed it at the time, but it's an interesting idea to get the COS as dark and sinister. You know, that it's able to use this episode to identify her and get that, oh, maybe I'm in trouble and maybe I need to target these people. But I gotta say, in 93, did we believe that a computer had access to public phone numbers?
Well, I mean, to an extent.
I mean, in retrospect, I'm sure we're looking at it going, no way, come on. They were all phone books in 93, but
I was just turning 9 when this came out. And I feel a little shafted because for my birthday that year, I got treated to the 3 lowest episodes of the season so far. And my birthday's wedged right in the middle of those. And
yikes.
And this episode actually takes place on my birthday, October 24th.
Okay.
Not cool.
That's a tough one. At least
I take it personally.
At least it wasn't space, though.
Right. So
they arrive at Drake's office, and we're treated to an explanation of how the electrocution occurred.
Yeah.
And yeah.
we're treated to yet another what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
Because they're positing that the circuitry actually changed within the wall.
Yeah.
Which the agents attribute to maybe there was tampering. This is a murder case, of course, so they think humans are involved.
But there are no fingerprints.
But the real explanation is no, the computer's doing everything. So we as the audience are left with the question of how the fuck did the computer change the circuitry, the literal wires in the wall?
I'm not an electrician, but I've used a soldering iron in my life, and it's not easy. So I'm trying to imagine the COS. Maybe it's got a little robot, a little R2-D2 that runs around, and maybe that's off stage and we didn't see it. They had to cut it because it's too expensive. I do like the idea, though, that maybe the COS arranged a work order to have this done, and got somebody from janitorial to come up and switch the circuits around.
Would he do it, though? He'd be like, if he was an electrician worth a shit, he'd be like, no, I'm not doing this because once you put the key in,
that might kill somebody.
It's going to kill someone.
But
I can't do this.
I don't really like Mr. Drake, so...
But this guy is a douchebag. We're picking it apart because, A, it deserves it, but at the same time, it's just the X-Files. We're just having fun.
Okay, but in my last parting shot on this one, they do say...
I'm not done yet.
I'm not done because they say it takes a lot of juice to melt a steel key, and then Scully says, throw a 180-pound man 10 feet. I totally agree with that. It does probably take a lot of juice. So, again, I ask, what the hell is this room? Why is there that much juice available on a door lock system? What is this door?
Maybe Drake, awesome man, businessman, who hires prostitutes and keeps them in the bathroom for the
panic bathroom
for when he needs them, and he installed the camera to watch them.
Okay, this is making a lot more sense now.
Because he's a perv. Should they find a key and try to get out, they're toast. I mean, what's he got to worry about?
I like to think that
he
there's
is
an
the
ejector
CEO.
switch that the juice to throw the 180-pound man, actually you could power it so that it launches a person into space. That's
well, maybe he's keeping a T-Rex in there. You never know.
Oh, yeah. This is a much better episode when we read it.
It is.
All right. I am going to just answer these questions, as I probably have more of them going on with. It's just X-Files. Moving on. We're introduced to Claude Peterson, the building manager and glorified janitor, who says there aren't a lot of people who'd be able to engineer this. And Mulder then notes that the phone was off the hook. Slightly off the hook. It indicates that maybe Drake got a call before he died.
It's a good observation, a little bit of a leap, considering that mayhem that went on in that bathroom. A phone could be off the hook.
Yep.
No problem.
Discharged it? No.
I do want to note, for everyone's listening pleasure, the building super is a recurring character actor. He also appears in Mind's Eye as the main detective in that episode.
Interesting. I actually saw him because of the turn he takes later on as the sort of prototype Mr. X. Because he's a little too friendly.
Nefarious.
Well,
friendly. Good.
Yeah, he's a little too friendly even in his representation, but there are some lines that he uses. He uses the phrase, you don't want to test my resolve. And that just sounds like something you'd hear coming out of Mr. X. So
yeah, it's not quite as believable from this guy.
No, oh God, no.
Not afraid of him in the end of the episode, but yeah.
But it's just,
what are you gonna do?
Well, of course not, because it's so weird, the turn that he's suddenly a bad guy. I don't believe it, and that's on the list of my problems with this episode. But anyway, I'll get to that later. So, anywho, we see that now we're back pre-conference. Mulder is looking for his profiler notes, and
apparently she has to knock. I mean, it's still Mulder's. Just kidding. It could be because they're still new.
I was going to say, it's still early on in season 1, and maybe she does have an office somewhere else, and, they knock on each other's doors, because, God knows what he's going to be looking at when she comes in there.
Yeah, she did walk in on him looking at a porno mag in Jersey Devil.
Yeah. So we...
and I was just joking, ladies and gentlemen. Just throwing that out there.
X-Files This Is Not Happening podcast totally believes in the capacity of men and women to open their own doors. So we see Mulder searching for his profile notes, which we learn that Jerry has stolen, so he can look just swell in front of his boss, the Iron Maiden, who only appears in this one scene.
And she comes back to actually play a couple characters. She's one of the MUFON members, Penny Northern, and she becomes Scully's kind of confidant when she finds out she has cancer.
Nicely done.
If we didn't like Jerry at this point, this scene will do it. He stole Mulder's profile, and it irks Mulder because it should. But also, I think, even though Mulder doesn't really care what everyone thinks about him, I think this would have been an opportunity to show these people that he still does amazing work. And he's a great profiler. So I think he's angry on a couple levels. Like, I don't really care what you think, but, this could have helped me get some respect,
I think it's not about that. I think that he is really just ticked at Jerry for having stolen something from his office. It's his work for sure. He wants to be credited for it, but I think it's the personal injury.
For sure, yeah. And Jerry does not even apologize and kind of walks away.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah, that's a real dick move. But it just reminds me of Colton from Squeeze, that same entitled mentality. Here's the question then. Is Colton more effective as an FBI agent than Jerry, or vice versa? I mean, they're both nincompoops.
I think it comes down to attitude. They both can't do much. And how they go about interacting with the people around them really sets their douche scaleness.
I'm not sure, if I'm thinking about this episode, I'm not sure what Jerry actually contributes to the investigation at all.
Mulder's profile.
Yeah.
He's in the office memorizing it before the meeting.
That's
right.
Don't screw this up, Jerry.
This is your moment, Jerry.
You got it. You can do this. All right, so we're moving on. We're at Brad's house now. Mulder and Scully are going to go and talk to the chief suspect at this point. And we see all the trappings of wealth, lots of cars. I think this was the first time I'd ever heard about the concept of a smart home. So I got to hand it to the X-Files. Like, way
ahead of its time here. Like, this is fairly awesome. I mean, it's a really cool house. This thing looks like a compound office building, but it's like, what the hell is this place? Yeah. He's got like a golf course across the street.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
Is the house attached to the golf course, or is the golf course attached to the house?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know. But you see those guys kind of as Mulder pulls up, and then it pans over across the street, and apparently, and I do want to point out, we don't get the text introduction that this is Wilczek's house.
Oh, interesting.
Is that the first time they've done that, where they've gone to a location that isn't introduced?
Well,
because this is a significant location, right?
That's fair, but I think that they introduce cities that they're in. I don't know if they introduce...
Yeah, I guess not individual little spots.
Yeah, the granularity for the locations, I think, is pretty large.
It's probably not the first time. I'm just...
I didn't even notice it, I'm afraid to say.
How dare you?
How dare I? My God. Who'd call me a fan? Honestly. All right, it's a good note, though. Good note. So we're at his house, and clearly they're there to talk about computers and lightly grill Wilczek that, he had motive and opportunity, and he's the chief suspect. But he throws him a curve by basically admitting that he's the logical choice.
What took you so long?
Yeah. But he doesn't admit that he did it. He goes on some tirade about it's a puzzle, and us scruffy types like to solve puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but by definition, we don't commit murder. I'm like,
really?
There's some weird smart person logic there, I guess, but not really.
I missed the part where they ask him for an alibi and his time and his whereabouts.
Right.
Let's assume that happens off stage.
But he's acting like the typical suspect, and Mulder and Scully kind of pin him as such because he's notably at odds with the man who was killed, and openly so. Yeah. And he's not afraid of anything he's saying to Mulder and Scully, which kind of makes her think that maybe he's just brash.
I like the idea that because he is so rich, he thinks he can... It's an interesting problem, but it doesn't actually worry him that he might be considered a suspect.
Yeah, he's not worried at all.
Like, he might already be sort of thinking in his head, I wonder if the COS has been acting a little strange lately, and then this happened, and I know I didn't do it, so who could have done it? And I wonder if maybe there's something going on with the COS. Like, he's starting to turn the wheels in his head that way. But it would be crazy to say that to these FBI agents, so I'm not going to. So we move on to Scully typing up her notes. This is a classic kind of scene with her.
Voiceover
Scully. And the twist is that after she's done, the COS is able to call up her computer and hack into it and read those notes.
File open.
Yeah, that's the best part. So,
cheese factor.
I had a computer in 93 just like Scully's. It was, 40 pounds and had a giant monitor on it and everything.
Oh, yeah, me too.
When you switched off that puppy, it was done. It was...
you can't just will it on.
No. And she very clearly reaches forward and clunks something. It's not like she's putting it into standby and the little Windows flying toasters, screensavers fly. But
it did rearrange circuitry in the building, so maybe it can reach across town.
Yeah.
And just kind of pop that button.
Okay. Yes, it's X-Files. It's the explanation.
It's X-Files, man.
I gotta say, it probably produced some big huffs for me when I saw it. And why does the
1993, Andrew, what the hell was that?
I disagree with this interpretation of computers, sir.
You and your jammies at 9 o'clock at night.
That's right. So why does the COS wait until the document is basically halfway read before announcing that the file's been opened? I mean...
Because the camera wasn't done...
Panning to it, yes.
Panning.
Had to wait for its close-up before it could say its line. That's how acting works.
And I'm ready. File opened.
I mean, for that matter, why is it saying anything at all? I mean, for God's sake, writers,
what
are
you
doing?
talking to?
Who is it? Is it talking to CO9, its computer buddy?
He's dropping these one-liners. It's like, what are you winking at the camera? What's going on here?
Oh my God, this episode is so bad it's funny. We change gears now. We're back at the FBI. Mulder and Scully are listening to Brad Wilczek's voice from lectures he's given over the past. It's an interesting take. I actually dig it.
I like it.
Jerry arrives contrite, looking for sympathy. And for some, who knows reason, Mulder decides he's going to give it to him. I think this is Jerry's superpower, that he is able to elicit sympathy from just about anybody.
Because it's not sympathy because they care about him. It's sympathy like, oh, you really inept person. You just suck.
Don't worry, buddy. You'll get your mojo back. I don't understand. It's okay, Jerry. You can't. It wasn't your fault that you. Oh wait, it was your fault. You'll get it back.
Yeah. And after that heartwarming scene, Scully calls him over and shows them the comparison of the sound files from Wilczek's speech.
Yeah.
And then the COS voice, and then our favorite, the
I love this stuff,
1993 computer making things work section.
I'm amazed that we didn't see the one waveform sort of be pushed over the two, and then they would start blinking, and it's 100% match.
Beep, beep, beep. Yeah, and if you notice, they're identical images. I'm like, those are two very different voices. They would not be identical.
Yeah, clearly.
Oh, that's funny.
But they use it to prove, air quotes, that it was Wilczek. My favorite part of this is she draws on the computer screen with the red Sharpie, like to indicate where the things have matched. I kind of shuddered to that moment because I was like, no, you don't draw on that. That doesn't come off. Licking her thumb and like wiping the screen. Shit, we borrowed this. We got to give it back. Yeah, then Jerry is going to go and bring him in alone because he needs this one, Mulder. And I think right about there, Jerry's going to die because he could have then said, I need this one, and then I'm going to retire. And that would have been even better. But no, he's going to do this. And why? Why is he doing this on his own? Why doesn't he have a partner, especially if he's on probation for fucking up so bad? I don't understand.
Right. And we get a cut to Wilczek at night in his, of course, darkened house, typing away at his computer, being very suspicious because we are led to believe that he's a part of this, even though we know he's not.
Yeah.
But Jerry is actually going to be tailing him after he leaves his house, isn't he?
Yes, he's unable to hack in, so he's got to go to the source. He's got to go into the CPU and figure out the answer to the puzzle. So he takes his fancy sports car, and Jerry is going to follow him. Question was, I have some one or two with this episode. Why doesn't he arrest him at home?
I think he wants to catch him in the act of doing something. I don't know how he would know. I mean, maybe he just lucked into... get that? He lucked into Wilczek having to go to Eurisco. Maybe he was staking him out
But
to...
they already have the evidence.
I don't know. It's a bad episode, dude.
Well, and he's a bad agent. I think he's high.
We have evidence, so I'm gonna wait here until I don't know.
The only thing I could think, and again, writers, if you had just said it or indicated it somehow, then I wouldn't have all these what if questions. But the warrant didn't come in yet because Scully did say I can get a warrant within the hour. We don't know what time it is when she said that, so maybe he's sitting there waiting and his car phone hasn't gone off or something. But it doesn't make sense why he's just waiting there when he clearly went to bring him in.
Because the script said so.
I know, but why does it say so? Anyway. Figure they know a little bit about, pacing and story. I get that they don't know anything about computers, but this is just bad.
Well, maybe they had to pad it out because we're like right at the halfway point when he gets on the elevator. So
you know how you save it? Jerry is pulling up when Brad takes off.
Yeah.
And he then has to oh, damn, I got to catch up with him. But he's clearly sitting there waiting.
He turns his car on to follow him.
It's like, why? All he needs to be doing is having a hot dog in the side of his mouth. And it's like, oh, damn, I got to go now.
Shit.
Guess I shouldn't have stopped for that hot dog on my way here. All right. I think you know how I feel about this one. So Brad gets to Eurisco. Pretty dramatic camera angle, I got to say. He is able to rush past the security guard, effectively breaking into his own building. And there's no repercussions for this. It's not like the guy at the front desk is like, I thought he was fired or something. I should probably call somebody about this. Couldn't do any harm for him to go up there to the mainframe. I guess I'll just go back to read my sports section.
But Jerry comes in and introduces himself like the nice little white bread boy he is.
Yeah, to be fair.
That's him like giving himself that ego boost. Oh, don't worry, FBI.
Well, yeah, and it's actually kind of a weird little shot because he goes up there, flashes his bag, and he says FBI. And I feel like the camera lingers on him for like 2 seconds too long. It just sits there on him.
Super dramatic.
Yeah, holding the badge, and I'm like, just waiting for the reverse shot of the security agent to say, and, but you don't get to that.
Yeah.
Were you here on business, sir? So Jerry's going to enter his elevator of doom and take it up. And Brad watches as he's tapping away at the computer, trying to get to the answers. And there's this business about him having a voice module now.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't give you a voice module.
He's visibly disturbed by what's happening. Like the computer's talking back to him. He's taken aback by it. So it's telling us more so that he does not know what's going on.
Yeah.
And he does not like that the computer is displaying images of the elevator clearly with some intent.
Yeah.
He senses what's about to happen.
Yeah.
And then the computer kills Jerry with a free fall elevator from the 30th floor. He was turned into an oil slick.
The cause of death was bad writing. Now, I'm no physics major, but I feel like if you're plunging downward in an elevator at a speed sufficient, yes, you wouldn't like flatten on the bottom of the elevator car floor, right? Especially if you die as a result of this, like surely you'd be lofted into the air and then you hit the ground fast and then splump. Well, it may be all.
Well, that would be
a budget too.
Yeah, I would say not so much writing as it is what they chose to do with special effects. And
I think you could do it with some strategically placed wires.
Yeah, definitely. You easily could have. I don't know why they didn't. But whatever.
If I think about it, like how you shoot that elevator scene, probably there are only 2 walls in the quote unquote elevators. So like they made that elevator to shoot it.
It could have been done. I think it was just director and.
I think it is a misstep on the production team to sort of show the death this way.
So now the question is, when the crash happens, does he fly up?
He is ejected from the. He's ejected from the building.
He just face plants upwardly into the ceiling of the elevator and dies.
Oh, I know what it is. The camera's upside down.
Well, there you go.
That's what the problem is. Yeah, it aged very badly at that particular moment. But I suppose we did all cheer a silent cheer that Jerry has been eliminated. But
File deleted.
that is the worst cherry on top is the COS saying program executed.
Program executed, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh man, guys, just stop already. This is terrible stuff.
Program executed.
So he's done a solid service to us all by getting rid of Jerry.
So maybe he's a good guy.
He's
an anti-hero.
Yeah, he's worth 2 Coltons already. So we have kind of an attempt at an emotional scene by David Duchovny. He's reviewing the footage of Jerry and Brad during the great elevator death of 93.
Yeah, he's a little distraught. Nothing crazy, but you can kind of see a little.
Yeah. There was a lot left on the cutting room floor on this one. I mean, if you look at the transcript, he doesn't once express any remorse or angst about the death of Jerry. It's all about how he's sort of coming up with reasons for how this happened, that Wilczek was not responsible. He's trying to piece this together. Yeah. And I suppose you could say that he's doing this to direct his emotions away, like distracting himself, that he doesn't want to feel the death of Jerry, but I just don't buy it.
In this episode, no.
Mm-hmm. I know this guy was bad news.
I cut this guy loose years ago.
Yeah, and you should have too. I do like her performance in this. She's trying to coax some feeling out of him. She's like, you got to give yourself some space, take some time, whatever. And he doesn't. I do like the turn that she says that, well, Brad Wilczek confessed. So that takes all the air out of your theory that he's not responsible. Well, we have Mulder going over to Brad's house. He's going to try and dig up some evidence, I suppose, but he finds it's protected by some new G-men who reveal that
he gets escorted.
Well, he reveals a subpoena that Mulder had ordered up has been obviated, which is some $5 legal word. And he's turned away, and he realizes that something bigger is going on. And surprising to me that the DOD is not clued in on who Mulder is, because he's attached to do the subpoena
investigation. Yeah.
So it's like, why are you being rude, G-men? Other than that's what G-men are, but. And I guess he's like, well, I suppose I'll take your word for it that it has been obviated. Let's see your superpower warrant that shows me that. Maybe some credentials while you're at it, if we're going to go that far.
Yeah. But he decides to utilize Deep Throat here.
And this is the total reason for this scene is to be the catalyst, which is like, oh, I need some answers. So, So it is time for Deep Throat to make his second appearance. And I gather it's because he polled well with audiences, and the producers decided they're going to bring him out again. And I guess nudge the plot forward a bit, but really, Deep Throat just drops a little bit of exposition, and I don't think it's anything that Mulder couldn't have figured out on his own.
Thanks for coming.
I'm here against my better judgment. In the future, I must insist that you respect the terms of our arrangement.
I need to know why Brad Wilczek is the subject of a Code 5 investigation. What the Defense Department wants with him.
What do you think they'd want with the most innovative programmer in this hemisphere?
Software.
For years, Wilczek has thumbed his nose at any contract involving weapons applications. He's a bleeding heart.
What kind of software?
How much do you know about artificial intelligence?
I thought it was only theoretical.
It was. Until 2 years ago. You remember Helsinki, the first time that a chess-playing computer ever beat a grandmaster? That was Wilczek's program. And the rumor was that he did it by developing the first adaptive network.
An adaptive network?
It's a learning machine. A computer that actually thinks. And it's become something of a holy grail for some of our more acquisitive colleagues in the Department of Defense.
It's nothing that Mulder wouldn't have leapt to as a theory, My guess would be like they've had 4 episodes at this point without the mythology. Maybe they're like, we need to bring it back. We need this guy to come back somewhere. Yeah,
just a little.
Kind of keep it alive.
And it happens again too, right? They like this trope of bringing out, the mystery man to add a little bit of exposition and then send him back to the shadows, maybe direct the characters in interesting ways, but not necessary. And I don't think it really does a lot in this episode. So
No.
nice try. It is early days. It's, 90s. It is probably topical at the time, which X-Files legit was good at. So I give them credit that they are, ripping stories from the headlines and going, this would make a neat backstory for the antagonist here. But again, doesn't really need to be here, I would argue.
And from there we go to the FBI detention center where Wilczek is being held. But Mulder interrogates him and tries to get him to admit he did not do anything.
I want you to tell me why you're willing to spend the rest of your life in prison for a crime you didn't commit.
What are you talking about? I'm guilty.
I know you're innocent. You're protecting a machine, the central operating system at Eurisco.
If I'm protecting anything, it's not the machine.
Then what?
After the bomb was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Robert Oppenheimer spent the rest of his life regretting he'd ever glimpsed an atom.
Oppenheimer may have regretted his actions, but he never denied responsibility for them.
He loved the work, Mr. Mulder. His mistake was in sharing it with an immoral government. I won't make the same mistake.
But your machine killed Drake. And it killed my friend.
So we have this great performance by Rob LaBelle, and Mulder gives him a third option between the two he's provided, that being he can either give himself up or give up the computer, which is then going to get taken over by the government. Mulder's third option is you can destroy the machine. And then he has a conversation with Scully where they have their usual logical versus fantastical, and she is giving him the pretty predictable stance that this is a good opportunity for Brad. He blames the computer to pin the deaths on, and then he gets away scot-free.
She also, it's like you're waiting for it in just about any TV show that has to do with cops. You're too close to this case. She does that little speech here, and it's like, ugh. Again, not the worst episode, believe it or not, but it's like the perfect storm of things that are not good.
Mulder is maybe projecting his guilt about Jerry into pinning this onto a highly unlikely AI. And Mulder sort of pouts a bit and says, oh, yeah, well, maybe I will talk to somebody. So he goes to bring a laptop to Brad in order to create the virus, which will kill the COS.
But she has a little paranormal event at her house, doesn't she?
Okay, you know how I had a whole list of things that I hated about a previous scene? I'm going to have a similar list to this scene. I'm just warning you in advance. But it's not as big a list, but it's still a list.
Well, okay, so it's nighttime. She's asleep. Her phone rings, right? She picks it up, and she hears her modem going. So she rushes downstairs, checks her computer, not only to find it on, but it's running her typed profile back or over and over or something like that. And it was actually the voiceover that we heard earlier on in the episode is being like...
Is it the same document even?
It's being displayed word for word on her screen. And then it cuts to Mulder outside of Eurisco, and Scully is showing up pretty much in pajamas. Or not in pajamas, but like...
the pajama pants, yeah.
I had some crap going on in my house, so I ran here.
Yeah. Well, it's more than that, though. She calls up the FBI tech support or whoever and gets them to do a reverse trace on her phone number to see who's calling. So that's how she's able to figure out where to go. It's the Eurisco building. So this is what she's going to reveal to Mulder. All right. So my questions, in no particular order, how has the computer gotten dumber? Because the last time it did this, it did it silently without ringing the phone, and could freely read her files, turn the computer on and did it, but there was no phone ring.
She had just turned her computer off, so all the information and electricity was right there. Didn't have to call.
Oh, the line was
the line was hot already.
Gotcha. All right.
You just tap in.
Okay,
you just tap into it.
All right. Cool. All right. So if she knew she was being hacked, because she does say that later on, and that's why she rushed to her computer, why did she put the phone back? Now, this takes us back to the bygone days of 93. And I don't know if you grew up in an era pre-broadband internet.
Oh, yeah.
Like, did you ever have to dial up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had my phone cord stretched across my kitchen into the living room.
Yes. Now, did your parents ever try to use the phone when you were on the internet?
Yeah, you get kicked off.
And you got kicked off, exactly. So, like, if she's concerned about being hacked, oh my goodness, there's a modem on the other line. Well, I guess if I just leave this off, problem solved.
Well, not only that, but she already picked up, so it would have interrupted it anyway.
I mean, I think there was some tolerance of like, you slapped it back down, then you'd be fine. Because I certainly remember there was screaming in my house, like, I'm on the internet!
I've got the highest kill count in Doom.
I have half of the picture of Gillian Anderson downloaded. I'm going to have to start all over again. Okay, so there's that. Now, we have to assume because she's able to call the FBI to get them to do this reverse phone thing, she's got 2 lines at her house. Right?
I don't believe it. You're giving too much credit for the episode.
Okay. But she's on the home phone and she's calling him up to say that she's being hacked and she wants to do the reverse phone trace. So if the phone she's using is able to call out and she's still being hacked to make this work, she's got 2 phone lines. Why on earth is her bedside phone,
her main line,
the one that's connected to?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
For the computer. Yeah.
It's just all over the place. Yeah, she would not be able to call out, number 1.
Yeah.
And number 2, she picked...
Without interrupting.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, again, 90s Andrew had some major huffs about this one.
And I admit, I didn't watch the scene super closely. She didn't grab her cell phone or anything, or was it for sure a landline?
No,
okay.
It was a big clunky phone.
Well, then, they failed miserably in that scene.
Yeah, I mean, William Gibson doing this episode would have gone up and down to make it work. But this one just is like, what are you doing? This doesn't even make sense. So I know the point of this scene is to give her the information so that she can rush to the Orisco building and have her finale with Mulder, but it's just really, really ham-handed. I mean, it would have just been so much better if she's just walking to bed, you know, and she sees the computer on like it was last time, and then she's able to do all this stuff. And if Fox wanted super badly, they could even have her getting ready for bed, if you know what I mean, like taking off her shirt and doing all the things that Fox wants out of these scenes. But instead, we have this weirdo scene. And yeah, could we just have some consistent logic in your computer antenna?
Yeah. Oh, well.
All right, well,
so she arrives.
We can move on. Yeah, she arrives. Again, we have the same wacky camera angles for them looking up at the building behind them. And there's some artistry in that. I'll give it to them. And yes, she tells Mulder that her computer was hacked and the line that did it is somewhere inside the building. And Mulder announces that it's the machine.
Mm-hmm.
And that is only apparently enough to convince her that he's right. Everything that she's positing before is fantasy, and the computer is clearly the antagonist.
Yeah.
And they're going to go inside and do something.
And he worked out a plan with Wilczek, which included taking the license plate off of his car so they can kind of sneak in because there's a license plate scanner to get into the parking garage.
I ask why you need to do this when we saw
because technology.
Brad run into the building past security. You know,
again, yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, there's no consistency here. Either the door's locked and everything's controlled by the AI, or you can just open and walk in freely. I don't know.
I know what it is. Security agent last time, an FBI agent ran in and said, FBI. He decided, well, we're not going to have any more of that tonight. I am going to lock this door and go home.
Yeah.
The only way anybody's getting in here is with the fancy license plate reader thing.
Hey, Brad, you're back. Yay.
Yeah. It is a nice reveal. I dig it. Mm-hmm. It's not bad. You know, X-Files has occasionally got some nice little, I didn't think of that. That's a nice touch with the license plate. And as soon as that security gate came up with the little teeth on the bottom of it, I thought, there's no way this works because this scene is going on too long. So
I think he it. I keep saying he. I don't know why. That stupid voice, man. Stupid voice. It. Yeah. I think it was either scanning them and it initially let them through, but then saw that it was, because it doesn't zero in on the windshield at one point right after that. I
think it may have been the case, yeah, but I think that it knew it was them and knew that this was an opportunity that it could try and kill them with the security gate. I'll let you in, but I'm gonna then put down the guard.
He's the asshole from Spaceballs. I'm sorry, sir. I'm doing my best.
So it's a nice little trap, and they decide they're gonna infiltrate the old-fashioned way.
Stairwell.
And I do like his line saying, "Maybe we'll skip the elevator or something."
Let's take the stairs.
Let's take the stairs. And there's some nice cat and mouse haunted house action of them infiltrating the building, and some of it's pretty good. I like that Mulder's able to get that. Wait a second, that lock might be trapped in the same way, so let's test it. And I do like that he's come prepared. Like he's got his knapsack, gloves, which has the gloves and the screwdriver and I guess a hat as well as the camera. He's come prepared with his camera hat.
Isn't it just a glove? I think I don't know, but yeah, he was a little prepared. It was a little risky, I think, to still handle that screwdriver so close, but I don't think those gloves would have protected him from anything.
So the door's not going to open now, so they send Scully into the vent to get around. She is the smaller of the two. I think that makes sense to send the more vent-fitting person.
She definitely couldn't have hoisted him up there, I don't think. But, I think they wanted to throw in a little Die Hard here.
I absolutely think they wanted that too. And maybe a little nod to Aliens as well. The scene in the vent at the end.
I can see that.
It's not bad. But in real life, we know there are never vents this large.
Yeah, she's moving pretty freely.
Yeah. Apparently, they created them from scratch because they don't exist in real life like this. And it took forever to shoot these scenes because they had multiple camera angles they needed to shoot. And Mark Snow goes into techno overdrive at this point. Yeah. It's so computer this, computer that. Like he's totally in you want a song with computers in it? I can do that.
And that's part of my notes.
Oh, yeah, so please, go on.
Well, no, I'll save it for final thoughts, but just the heavy-handedness of some things.
I think everything in this episode is heavy-handed. Exactly. So I'd like the moment then when she's trying to get around and then Mulder's door just opens.
Yeah.
And Claude Peterson's like, Agent Mulder, what are you doing here?
And did you suspect him at this moment?
No.
Yeah, me either.
No, I gave up caring. I mean, I guess I'd seen it before, so now I'm like, oh, right, this is how this happens.
So the door opens. I'm moving this along.
You just want to get to the end. I can't say I blame you.
Mulder's door opens. It's Claude. We get an extended scene of Scully crawling through vents that are abnormally sized. Mm-hmm. And
Scully sized.
The wind starts to pick up.
Yes.
She gets air assaulted by apparently a huge fan.
No, it's not even
not huge, but it the power behind this thing is so unbelievable to suck her down a vent and around a corner, I think at least one.
Yeah. Horizontally too.
I don't believe it's at all.
Yeah. And the worst is when you do see the fan, you can see the blade spinning. Like it's, you know how when the frame rate is fast or slow enough, you can actually see there's spaces between the fans. It's not going super fast. Like when an airplane is going, those propellers are moving, right? And you figure that it would have to be at least that strong. But I mean, that's not even getting to how it could be that in a building. Claude, can we turn down the AC? I can barely hear you. That's what it should have been.
Exactly. I mean, if it's working that hard, it's like providing so much air to this building.
Yes.
What is going on?
I feel like the building should be lifting off the ground.
Right.
It's got so much, power coursing through it. But if it is enough power to send a grown man 10 feet into, there's power in this building. I don't know why, but there is.
I think she initially aims for the motor. And then she switches for a smaller target, which is the electrical box next to the fan. And then manages to hit that.
I mean, at this rate, when she hit it, there should have been a nuclear explosion, in terms of things being overdone. But in my notes, I have underlined and italicized, who the heck built this building?
I want to talk to
the point. I'm like,
the fucking
what
architect.
is this place? The fan is working so much; they're being sucked into South Korea. Like they're out of
Her ears would be bleeding. That's for sure. Firing a gun like that.
Yeah.
That close.
No, the fan is so strong it's sucking sound that way too.
That's true.
So
and pretty soon the Earth is going to start spinning the opposite direction.
It's going to get sucked into the fan.
It's going to Superman too.
Can we limp towards the end here, shall we? So Peterson takes Mulder to the control room. The machine's been acting all crazy and shutting everything down. And Mulder is able to hack into the computer with his little bread box thing or whatever and gain level 7 access, which means he can insert the virus. And on cue, Peterson pulls the weirdest reversal lever and has Mulder at gunpoint. Turns out to be working for...
Department of Defense, I believe. Our checks are signed by the same people.
Which is like, okay, why the gun? Why the gun? If he is seriously a superior, why doesn't he just say, good work, Mr. Mulder. Now I'm going to have to ask you to exit the building now. My department has this under control.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me there's another misstep here? Another continuity issue? I don't believe it.
I'm afraid to mention that there maybe is some continuity or inconsistency in the plot. But anyway, Scully shows up dramatically. Yes, she did not get chopped to pieces by the fan. I think we all knew that was going to happen. But I do like that Peterson's trying to leverage her to say, you'll be held responsible. And, you can't, you've got to side with me on this one.
That's all he's got.
And this episode has to end in the next 4 minutes. So clearly she's going to say yes and or no, I guess. So they insert the virus that leads to some of the worst CGI.
Yeah, it's actually quite a quite controversial and graphic scene for 1993. The first CPU murder, a little pool of blood forming. I'm kidding. I'm just.
Oh, okay. I took you very seriously.
No. I was. Yeah. You see a little puddle of battery fluid underneath the.
Oh, that would have been great. if it started spurting data or something on the floor. A little ticker tape comes zip, 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 zip. I can see it. Sparks fly,
At this point, I half expected it.
Yeah.
Visible representation of computer death.
I would have loved to see a scene where they're like, the reactor's overloading. We got to get out of here. And then they're like rushing from the building, and then there's an explosion behind them, and they leap over the with
the 1950s sound effects.
Yeah, and the building is burning in the background. But I mean, no, it doesn't happen. But we have a very HAL-like death scene from 2001, so mission not accomplished, writers.
It slowly kind of dies saying Brad's name. Brad, why?
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, if it's getting self-aware, shouldn't it realize why it's been killed? But apparently the writers didn't want that. So Claude is disappointed, and for some reason, with the death of the COS, all the lights come back on the building.
Yeah.
Why? Because isn't everything wired through the COS? Doesn't it control everything? Shouldn't this be the deadest of dead buildings?
It should be completely dead at this point because they eradicated this thing, supposedly.
Yeah.
And if it controlled everything, then yes, there should be no lights.
I think this is literally the writers going, we didn't like this idea to begin with. We didn't like it when it ended. And I'm writing the scene to give you 2 middle fingers because this doesn't make sense either. All right, let's try and get to the end. Our first coda at the end is with Deep Throat and Mulder, because of course, since you hired Jerry Harden for this episode, you need to get your money's worth. And they reveal that they're trying to get Wilczek to work with them, and they haven't made any progress to sorting anything out. And Deep Throat calls it the machine dead. So clearly that's it. The episode's over, right?
No. We're thrust back into the mainframe, and the DoD is hard at work dissecting everything and trying to recover the COS somehow.
Cloud Peterson on his 90s cell phone.
Yep.
Lamenting.
They're going to pull the plug in 6 hours, I think, if they don't find anything.
It's all going into the metal shredder.
And then we get something wholly unexpected. The camera pans away, and
this never happens in the X-Files.
No, or any other film or TV show ever.
Yes.
Pans away to a stack of computer stuff, like a tower, which I don't think is connected to anything, but I don't remember.
No.
And the lights turn on. Oh, and here comes the security camera.
Yes.
Beeping and booping away.
And then we have our final shot of Claude saying, "I'm going to figure this thing out if it kills me." Oh.
That's some heady stuff.
I think he might not live in the next 6 hours somehow. Guys, I'm just going to go take the elevator for an unrelated reason. Okay, and that is the episode.
There's nothing wrong with liking this episode. I think it's definitely subjective, I believe. There's nothing wrong, and I can understand liking it, because at the end of the day, as I've already said, I still enjoy watching it because it's the X-Files and I like Mulder and Scully.
Yeah.
There's plenty to like. It is just not constructed well. They could have done so much differently. And I think that's where our problems lie,
Yeah. I when an episode is good, my what if ability just disappears. I don't sit there going, well, why didn't you just do this? Why did you make that terrible choice? Because it doesn't make sense. When the episode brings you out of your suspension of disbelief and you sit there criticizing it, there's something wrong. And not everybody obviously is going to have that. And that's great, that people can watch this and not fall into that trap. So
yeah. And no one's got a bad opinion. It's all fair.
Yep. So shall we wrap it up and get to our final thoughts?
Yeah. Where do I start?
Hold on. Let me get my notes.
Yeah, right. Easily the weakest episode we've seen so far. I'm not sure what they were really going for in this episode, but I think to get back to a point we briefly touched on, the hammer that they used in this episode was just so heavy-handed. It was technology with a capital T, and the overusage of synthesizer noises and security cameras watching everything everyone was doing, and the stupid one-liners that you can't help but laugh at. And I have to believe people were just like screaming at their televisions in 93. Like, even then it felt dated. It's something, like I said earlier, that I would have expected from a 1950s or 60s television show, where technology is still interesting and new, and it's part of the unknown. Whereas in 93, yeah, it's still developing, as it always is, but we had a much better handle on technology, and we're not as afraid of it at that point. But the inconsistencies that we've discussed are also here. It's just a shame that they tried so hard. Like, if they had just dialed it back a bit and it had been a run-amok AI that was killing people, it would have been better. Like, they could have done it without the elaborate booby traps. They could have done it in a different way. And the X-Files attempts the killer AI a few times, and they really do get the footing of it in Kill Switch, like you mentioned earlier. I think that's a much better episode, and this one laid the groundwork for the killer AI for sure, but it was like throwing crap at the wall and trying to see what would stick, and not a lot did.
Well, for me, I think I've made my opinions fairly clear through our episode tonight. Was I a little opaque? Yeah? Okay. Well, let me just get my notes here, and no, I did not like it. I think it's pretty shoddy. Like, the script was just inconsistent. I think that's the word that we've used a lot, and I think it really is a pretty great example. Like there are very few scant good moments, but there's nothing about it I found really believable, and not just the technical stuff. Like the relationships between the characters, I didn't agree with them. Like Mulder and Jerry being the one, right? Like
there was really no reason for Jerry.
Well, it's.
They could have stumbled across this case some other way.
Absolutely, it is an old trick though to introduce a character and make them significant to your protagonist, and then kill them off later, And then there is a repercussion, right? There is loss that the character has to deal with. But they did it, but then Mulder doesn't really deal with the loss. And more to the point, there's no reason why Jerry has to be either incompetent or unlikable. Like if you wanted to have us, the audience, lament for the death of Jerry, then don't have him steal the profile. Make him actually capable. Make him be the one that comes up with a great profile, and have Mulder go, "Yeah, you've really come a long way, Jerry. This is great for you. This is great. Maybe your career will come back. And then you can actually care about him." But no, they give him these bad traits, and so when he meets his maker, we're relieved.
No, we don't care.
No, exactly. So they're weird choices, and the technical stuff obviously got to me, but I mean, that's just, they really could have fixed that in a better way, but it's the character stuff that I don't think I can forgive. So yeah, we don't buy that. I agree it was an interesting idea, the high-tech haunted house, just not well executed, and I wish they did it better. I'm glad they do go try kicking the can again a few times, and as you say, Kill Switch is a better version of it. So we'll look forward to reviewing that one.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you.
I think that's it.
Oh. Yeah, we're done.
I don't think we can say anything that we haven't already said. So
no.
Thank you very much for listening to us rake this episode over the coals and put the floppy disks into the metal shredder. I think we're happily not going to discuss this again, except in the future when we'll look back and remember how bad it was. So thank you very much for listening to us tonight. For me, Andrew, thanks for listening. Mike,
thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys later. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at TINHXFilesPod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming. It's that time, everyone, the Magus Media Production sales pitch. Please check out our homepage at magusmediaproductions.net so you can stay up to date on all of our shows. Check out our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Magus Media Productions, both of which have our Discord link on it, where you can join us for live shows as we record them for future release. At Magus Media Prods on X, our Patreon, patreon.com/magusmedia, where a $5 donation will help us keep the lights on and bringing you new content, and you get some stickers. Thank you for your consideration and support.